Welcome to the Rebuilt Man podcast. I am your host and founder, Coach Frank Rich. And if you are new to the podcast and channel here, welcome. It has been our mission for the last 6 years to help men just like you, those caught up in the depths of pornography addiction, take back control, rewire their brains, reshape their bodies, and step into a life of freedom that they ultimately deserve. In today's episode, we are sharing a short clip from episode 341 of The Superhuman Life, where I sat down and interviewed Nelson Whiting, founder of No Limits Hypnotherapy. Nelson has been working with men who struggle with porn and has a unique approach rooted in hypnotherapy practices. So in this clip, he and I discussed some of the limiting stories that men are holding on to that keep them stuck in pornography addiction, how many of those stories lead to a lack of self-worth, and how that lack of self-worth keeps men shackled to shame, and what the pathway out of those stories is. So once again, this is a short clip from the full-length episode. If you want to listen to the entire conversation or watch it, we had that link down in the show notes for you guys below. But before we dive into the clip and short conversation, I want to remind you guys, if you are stuck, if you are struggling and you feel like everything you've tried has not worked, it's very imperative that you get plugged into a community. We launched the Rebuilt Man on School over a year and a half ago and have seen tremendous results with guys that are committed to leveling up. And you can join us for free at the link below, school.com/reboot your life, to get plugged into a community of men who are all committed to leveling up, to holding each other accountable, and to essentially stepping into a life of freedom. Once again, that's school.com/reboot your life to join us for free today. But without further ado, let's get into this short clip from episode 341 of The Superhuman Life with Nelson Whiting of No Limits Hypnotherapy. Nelson, you and I both work with men that are struggling with porn addiction. In your opinion, what is the number one story that men are holding on to that is keeping them stuck, preventing them from breaking free?
Man, that is a phenomenal question. The number one story, I think that the universal negative self-thought is I'm not good enough. I think that applies to, everyone across the board for all the problems that we have. And I don't think that the porn addiction problem is unique in that aspect. I've seen in some of your episodes, and I definitely agree from my clinical work that this is an identity problem. A lot of people are approaching it as wanting to fix actions, wanting to fix behaviors in order to fix thinking, in order to fix identity, and we approach it the other way around, right? With our come from. But that number one thing, it is interesting because it is an identity thing. However, there's a whole bunch of reasons why people go, as you know, to escape, avoiding, certain things in their life. And it's not as straightforward. It's not as clear cut, I think, as a lot of people want to say it is. I've done thousands of sessions working with guys, and it doesn't always come down to shame and guilt. It doesn't always come down to one clear thing across the board that everyone is struggling with, other than kind of in general an identity where they're messed up on who they are, what they stand for, what their purpose is in life, and why pornography doesn't need to be a thing for them, not interesting to them, not worth their time. Because for some reason they're still going back to it. It's a problem now, but the reason they're still doing it is because at one point it was a solution for them, right? So they went after that to solve another problem. And, the question is, what was that problem that they were going after to solve to begin with? Can I give you a couple examples? Okay. We'll play a little game here. I'll give you 3 examples, case studies of guys that came in that fixed pornography and what their issue was, and just point out whatever you see as a commonality between all of them. Okay. So I had a guy that came in, he was actually an LDS bishop here in Utah, struggling with pornography. He comes in, we induce trance, we do some age regression work to find out when this all started for him. And it all went back to when he got into college and he was all by himself and he was feeling really sad. And all of a sudden he has this overwhelming sense of sadness. And it's the sadness that he kept harping on. Like that was the nerve that we pinched, right? sadness. So we resolved that in one session. He was done. Okay. He'd been struggling with it for like 15 years. Another guy, he had been going to talk therapy for, 10 years, and he was facilitating a program here. He was a leader in the program for helping guys quit pornography for those 10 years and hadn't been able to fix it himself. He came in one session, we fixed it, but he surprised me because he was feeling a lot of anger. That's where he was going with it. And so we did our little age regression work there with him too. And went back to when he was upset at 10 years old because his dog died. His dad put his dog down, actually. And then his dad died soon after that, and there was no resolution. There was no closure with his dad on that. And so he had grief over the dog, grief over his dad, anger about the whole thing. And when we resolved that in one session, all of his porn problems are gone. Right? Another guy, simple, junior high, goes back to junior high, and a girl's rejecting him, and he feels like he's, not good enough. So in all those cases, you wouldn't necessarily say that's definitely a shame and a guilt thing per se, right? But what would you see or say is maybe a commonality between those? Just hearing the stories.
Yeah, I think for me, the one thing that is coming up is they're in these painful states or painful emotional states. The first one being alone and isolated, not feeling connected. There's pain associated with feeling alone, not feeling connected. The second one was that anger towards that loss of both the dog and your dad there shortly after. So an unresolved, I think, pain state, emotion. And then the third one being rejected. Very, very painful state and emotion to be in. I didn't catch the age of the first one. It seemed that he was a little bit older, but I think there was also an age basis there, very early state. So some of this is probably being driven from, I'm not sure if the correct language would be child wounds or something from an identity that's shaped at a young age. So painful state, finding this thing induces pleasure, gets you out of that emotional state, but also at an age where you're not really fully developed. So it becomes a crutch for you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And in those cases, that you can say it's identity or say it's maybe guilt and shame, but we find a lot of this loneliness, isolation, sadness, despair, boredom as the things that somebody says, hey, that's why I do this. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to assume it's something else. Let's just keep digging on that thread, and next thing you know, they've fixed it without having to go and say, well, it's definitely this, or ask leading questions because of my experience, this is where it has to go. And we find that there's kind of those top 10 triggers or emotional states that do create a pornography problem. Lust, obviously, deviant curiosity, the shame and guilt are part of it, but also apathy, fear, the grieving, anger, loneliness, boredom, despair. These are all interesting emotional states that if we find what they're thinking behind that emotion, that's creating that emotion, that's where we have to go with it. Because you don't even have to do necessarily age regressions, go back in time and unpack all the childhood stuff, because the belief system that they had then, they still have now. And it's the belief system that you've got to change.
Yeah. It's interesting because your first response to the question that I teed up was this feeling of not good enough. And I think that also came up in every single one of those stories. Obviously, if you're alone, if you're isolated, maybe the feeling of I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough to have people that care for me and want to be around me. And the third example, the rejection. I'm not good enough for this girl, this woman that I found attractive. I'm having a harder time finding it maybe in the second one. I'm sure the young mind maybe perceived the losing or the putting down of the father as I'm not good enough to have this dog, this animal with unconditional love. And then he loses his father. So I'm not even good enough now to even have a father present in my life. Like if we went deep enough layer, would that be the thing that was driving most of it in those three examples, that I'm not good enough?
Yeah. And I think this is why it does kind of all come back to shame, because shame is basically all of this. I'm not good enough sensation, right? I think that's why Christ's atonement is so powerful, because even though we're not good enough, he makes it all up with grace, right? So we can always fix it no matter those deeper levels. But even in that case with the kid who He was 30, not a kid, I guess, but the dog got put down. The problem is more so, you can call it shame, you can call it I'm not good enough, but it's really any form at all of self-criticism. Any form of self-criticism, self-rejection, self-condemnation, self-hatred, all of those states deplete your internal energy stores so much that it's just impossible to solve your problems. Like if you're a battery and, batteries get charged and they get depleted. And when you're in any form of self-criticism, the battery internal energy stores just go down so much. So you can't solve your problems. And so obviously the solution to that is the reverse of all the self-criticism and moving into self-acceptance, self-compassion, self-love, self-respect, self-confidence. But it's interesting because with, after these thousands and thousands of sessions that I've done, moving from self-criticism to the self-acceptance, you'll ask someone, well, why don't you just accept yourself, forgive yourself, love yourself, and say, well, I will when I stop. But your energy stores are too low to overcome the problem. In order to stop, you got to get into the self-compassion, self-love, self-acceptance in advance of solving the problem. So you have the internal energy stores to overcome it in advance. Right. And so that's interesting in our sessions that we do, that we find that people, by the end of the session, we have a pretty intensive testing protocol that we do after doing the clinical hypnotherapy, where we find that they're reporting to us in advance after a session or two that their problem is fixed. They know all the reasons why it's fixed. It feels 100% fixed, and they have no fear going back out into the world and facing the internet. Or facing life and all of the roller coaster of life. So for them to be able to report that in session in advance of going out and getting tempted again, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think that ability to not live in a fearful state, it's something that, very quickly I saw, going back 2019, like I struggled 20 plus years and got on the other side of it. And I looked at the landscape of like, okay, how are people tackling this problem? What are they doing? And so many men live in constant fear of walking down the street and seeing a beautiful woman that's going to trigger me, or I'm going to be scrolling on social media, or there's going to be an ad, or I'm going to be on Netflix and, there's going to be a scene that's got graphic material. I was like, what's that going to do? And it's like, man, you are putting yourself in such an elevated, heightened state, that you're giving all of your power over. You may be, I won't even say free. You may be abstinent of looking at pornography, but you're chained to something else. You're chained to, I can't even go out and live and operate in the world. There you have it, guys. A short clip from episode 341 of The Superhuman Life with Nelson Whiting. As a reminder, guys, if you want to listen to that full conversation, you can find it linked down in the show notes below or on the Superhuman Life podcast right here on YouTube. And as we told you guys in the beginning, if you're looking for a community of men, if everything you've tried isn't working, if your porn addiction is keeping you stuck, if you are feeling alone and isolated and ashamed of who you are, we want to get you plugged into a community of men who understand the fight that you're in right now. Join us on School, SKOOL.com/reboot your life, to get plugged into a group of men that are all committed to becoming better, that are all committed to holding each other to a higher standard. Once again, school.com/reboot your life, or click the link down there in the show notes below. But make sure to subscribe, guys. Make sure to rate, review this podcast if you're listening to the audio. And as always, guys, we appreciate you for plugging in. We'll see you guys in the next one.